Hello, welcome. I finally figured out how to get the microphone on my laptop to work, which means that the level of entry for making a yapping video is now none. I make this, I film it, and then I throw it on YouTube and I stop thinking about it. And that is beautiful. I got really scared because I was looking around my channel, and I thought that it said I had 10 subscribers, but it said I was subscribed to 10 people. I've accidentally been viewing and subscribing to things on this YouTube channel rather than my personal one, but I might honestly keep doing that because I often want to comment on things, but I don't want people to see them and make fun of me for being on like a random digital hardcore video from this band from New York that I told everyone to listen to, being like, "You are my favorite." Eee! Like, no one needs to see that. No one needs to know that I'm being annoying as fuck. But anyway, I was just looking at my messy ass room, like actually disgusting ass room. Like if you looked up like Hikikomori on Google right now and like compared one of those pictures of those guys in their room and like me in my room, it would not only be like comparable, mine would be worse. Like it is worse. The only thing I have going for me is I'm forgetting the name of the book right now, but it's this play, Angels of America, where this guy is talking about his theory on like mess, and he's like, yes, it's messy, not dirty, and he's talking about how there's not like dust and trash everywhere. This is the one thing I have going for me. When I eat in my room, I take out the trash. There's not rot in here, but I was looking at my messy room and just thinking about that this was one of those things that I could have never had in the past. Like, my mother was one of those people who was really anal about mess. She, like, definitely, it, like, bothered her, but she made it seem like it was something that definitely would bother me. And she would always get on me about kind of, I don't know if anyone else's, like, parents, the, like, kind of whole, what's her name? Why am I blinking out? But the life-changing art of tidying up, Marie Kondo, that whole thing, like, got to anyone else's parents. But my mom got, like, kind of stressed about, like, hoarding. And I was a man of stuff. I always liked my little trinkets, my little items. That's just how I was. And there came a point where she started just randomly throwing stuff away. This started probably when I was like, well, when I started getting my own items, so probably when I was about 13. And most of it was clothing. Like, that was what I remember the most, is my mother would throw away my clothing items, and, or give them away or whatever. They were just gone. She didn't want old Sydney to have them, whatever. But it got to a point where when I got older that I just knew, I always, ever since I was a little girl, I always knew that I was going to have gobs of stuff, like an old lady. But that this started to give me, like, having my things and having my things pile up started to give me such a rush. It, like, meant something to me, in this kind of, like, liberating way, because for so long I had lived in this, like, minimalism that didn't, like, reflect me, and I definitely hope to live a life that, like, also doesn't reflect me. I think it's bad to have a room in, like, turmoil, but for the first time, like, all of these things were here because I put them here, and I definitely began to acquire more and more stuff because of it, and just develop tendencies around hoarding. I haven't looked into hoarding enough to know whether or not that would, like, fully fall onto me, but I know that I have like other stuff wrong with my brain that makes it very, very hard to throw away items. If someone gave it to me, if it has words on it, I'm like terrible with paper. Like 90% of this shit is just like paper, because I've convinced myself that I'm an archivist, even though I like leave all of this stuff on my floor to like eventually get wine spilled on it. But anyway, I just feel like this whole concept where I thought I was gonna like heal all these problems I had around like stuff that I had been taught from my parents, but it didn't work, because healing your inner child so often comes with that a child is kind of a maniac, and this is as someone who would be labeled a maniac. They don't know what's wrong with me. Psychiatrists hate me. They gave me this weird medication that they mostly give to, like, bartards to quit, doing benzos, which is really cool. Good for them. And they haven't let me pick it up from the store yet, so I don't even know if it works. But I was thinking about how the idea of, like, healing your inner child only works if you're willing to, like, make those two sides meld, or if, the root of, like, what you had an issue with or what you were denied as a child is not at all based in truth. If the person who was restricting you and your intake was based in truth, but they were just whack and didn't know how to deal with it and messed you up, it's much harder, because it's like the message that I should have been learning there is one that's important and helpful, and I wish I had been taught by my parents. But I don't have it, because it just represents toxicity to me. So instead, I'm like in this trash room of my own creation that brings me this sort of sick joy. And it's just kind of like really annoying. And I feel like so often we see like recovery and healing and stuff just treated in this like linear fashion. Like, it can take however much time you need, but like the idea of like a relapse is distinctly a relapse. You're either out or you're not. You can get back in recovery, but recovery is like a liminal and not a mindset. Like, it's this transitional period. You were transitioning from one who is sick to one who is healed. And just in general, I think that this mindset, like, really got to me, because it made me feel like I had to be fully ready to be 100% better before I, like, did anything. And I guess speaking of which, I have some things I'm trying to forget, so this is my little glass, which I have been enjoying at 11:35 a.m. But I used to have a little bit of a junkie streak. And this isn't even in the way that, like, oh yeah, I just started, like, doing substances when I was pretty young. This was in the way that when I was little, I would get really dizzy, get really motion sick, but I would still enjoy the feeling of spinning around in circles and almost feeling like I was going to throw up. In the way that I am, like, extremely desensitized to throw up, I would stand my eyes in front of the TV and just look at them, so that when I looked away, it was, like, crazy. Whenever I took medication, even if it was, like, ibuprofen, I would, like, take too much. One I remember is, like, Benadryl, which, yeah, bad. I think I figured out the, like, keyboard duster thing, like, if you spread it in your mouth, like, when I was, like, 8. And I didn't think of any of these things as, like, doing drugs until I was around, like, 12 or 13, when I decided that I had to be sober. At 13 years old, I decided that I had to be sober or else I would be addicted to drugs. I was right. I was 100% right. I saw it coming from the beginning. My brain is just predisposed to feel that way. That's how it is. That's how it's gonna be. And that's not something that, like, get solved if I just become sober. I suddenly like stop doing drugs. I think like my path throughout my recovery is forever going to be based in the fact that I have this personality where I need something to do to myself. Everything has either been a replacement or a supplement for like harming tendencies. And getting to the root of that problem is a lot harder than labeling the individual things as bad. Like, I know that, like, cutting is bad. I know that I need to stop doing that because it's dangerous and it's hard to get out of and it's horrible and harmful. I know that. I know that, like, I shouldn't have smoked crack in a Taco Bell bathroom in Minecraft. I know that I shouldn't have done that. I know, but that doesn't mean that, like, the part of my brain that tells me to do those things cares when I don't care about myself. When things happen to me that make me want to fucking have vermouth at 11 a.m. Like, things just... This is water, by the way. Things just... I don't know. They just don't get easier unless you actually work on the root cause. And the thing about the root cause of an addictive personality is that's incredibly hard to get out of. I have been surrounded my entire childhood by ex-alcoholics and ex-drug addicts, and they're all neurotic. They all seemingly struggle similarly to me with some other form of like mental problems that makes it worse, and it's just like you're still like obsessed with something, or just obsessed in general, just overly locked in. Like, I don't believe in this mentality that one should be chill all the time. I think that pursuing being chill is, like, bad and whatever. But, like, if I do not have either something in my system, I'm doing something else, or, like, I'm watching something, there's music playing, there's something in the bathroom, I am uncomfortably locked in. I am looking at you like this, and I am talking to you like I am angry. And that is just how I do it, and that's just what it's like. I've had people, I like have to say, and I'm agreeing with you, while I look at someone and then go on my rant, because I'm just so, like, focused. I get, like, not addicted to say, but it's like conversation and social interaction with other people, like, is like what I rely on to stimulate my brain, and stimulating my brain is like a be-all end-all. It is like a dire situation. Like, I worry what happens if I was put in any scenario when that went away. Do I have to get to a point where I have to work in an office? This is kind of a funny one, but if I went to jail, like, I don't know how my brain functions fully when it doesn't have any of that. The closest I have to that is the bathroom, and usually I have music, and when I don't, that results in crying, that results in hating myself, that results in staring at myself in the mirror for hours and hours and hours. And it's like, yeah, no wonder I like turn to this stuff that like allows me to like turn my brain off, or control it, like with like eating disorder stuff, where it's just like it gives me something else to obsess about. Because another big problem with me, and another big problem with like the recovery pipeline, is if what you're trying to cover up and deal with isn't isn't like harmless, it's way harder. Like, I just will, to a bad extent, get obsessed with other people. Like, I don't want to do it. I think it's gross. I think it's harmful. I think I shouldn't do that. But, like, I do. And So it makes it really hard to just be like, okay, I'm just gonna live fully as myself. I'm not gonna let these substances like get to me. I'm not gonna let an eating disorder get to me. I'm gonna let my full pure thoughts speak for themselves. It's like, no, bitch, no one wants that. No one wants that. Like the times in my life when people have like disliked me the most, not like in the past, but since I have been like doing, is when I was in full recovery. Like is when, not when I was working towards recovery, but when I was like recovered. I was annoying. People just liked me less. I was more blunt that I didn't like people. I was more fair with my ideas. And that's like good in general. But I was also obsessing over random stuff. Random people. I was just like bothering people with like random rants. And it's like, I'm not saying that the ultimate solution is to smoke weed under a bridge, but like, in Minecraft, but like, oh my god, if that isn't like a little bit better at this point in my life right now, when I am not fucking able to fully even figure out what's going on in here, let alone deal with it, and each day, like, new obsessions and, like, possible addictions, like, come into my life. Not drug-wise, but just, like, other things. Like, anything you can fucking think of. Like, I guess caffeine is technically drugs, but, like, I was always, like, a caffeine person. I, had problems with my, like, stimulants, but then, like, also, like, addictions in the way of, like, going to specific places, doing specific activities, getting obsessed with certain songs, not leaving my room because I'm looking at my computer doing specific things. It's, like, maybe getting out, even though that's, like, not a path to sobriety in any way, to be, like, putting drugs on my life. And maybe all these comments of this video, if there are any comments on this video, no one's probably gonna see this, are just gonna be people being like, well, you can get there, and that would be beautiful. I'd love advice. I want to figure it out. I want to get to a point where I don't feel like I struggle with, like, an addictive personality more than I, like, have any interest to be fully sober from drugs. But it's like, yeah, sometimes the best thing that does help me is, like, and I'm sorry this is so scattered. Like, this is genuinely, like, so scattered that I don't know if it's going to make any sense. But, like, I don't know. Right now, when I'm stressed, I go and I go under a bridge with a pipe, and it's nice. It's lovely. It's chill. It, helps, and it helps a lot. And I think that's fine. Like, I would beat myself up about it for so long and felt like I was doing something, like, really fucking awful by being, like, California sober or whatever, and that, like, I was lying to myself and I was just gonna fall, like, deeper into addiction. But it's just, like, I don't know. I don't want, like, an eating disorder. Honestly, I don't want, like, hoarding problems. I don't want problems with, like, self-harm. Like, I don't know. Like, I would rather just not have to deal with all of that. And it does help. It helps to have something that, like, reminds me of these substances that I'm, like, was so tied to for so long. It's nice to have something that, like, reminds me of that, that's not, like, dangerous, I guess. And I don't know. I'm working on healing. I'm working on getting better. I might make a video about my, like, journey to at least partial sobriety. It's weird because my behaviors haven't changed that much from when I was straight up, like, could only be considered, like, a junkie. But, my, like, mindset around it and proximity to drugs and all of that has just changed a lot. And yeah, I don't really know what this video was exactly about. I guess I kind of just wanted to, have a discussion with other people on recovery and how that's hard and how, the way that recovery is talked about linearly, and the way healing is talked about linearly, especially when it comes to child abuse or neglect, or just general, like, your parents weren't good and made you worse, disorder, can, like, affect you, and that we don't broadcast ourselves when we're going through it but trying enough. And it's like, I'm going through it but trying. And yeah. Thanks. Beep.